There's a particular kind of person who walks into any room and somehow leaves it having lost nothing, given away nothing, and revealed almost nothing, while everyone else in that room walked out having handed over more than they meant to. That asymmetry isn't accidental. It's a skill, and one author spent years studying exactly how it's built, distilling centuries of political, military, and social history into a single, unapologetic manual on how power is actually acquired, held, and lost. That author is Robert Greene, and the book is The 48 Laws of Power. Greene draws on historical figures across centuries and cultures, from statesmen and generals to courtiers and con artists, extracting recurring patterns in how influence was gained and how it slipped away. The book doesn't pretend to be a moral guide. It presents itself instead as a description of how power actually operates beneath the polite surface of most human interaction, and it's remained controversial for exactly that reason. Admired by some as unflinchingly honest, and criticized by others as a manual for manipulation. Understood correctly, though, it functions less as a set of instructions to blindly follow, and more as a map of dynamics that are already running constantly around you, whether you've been consciously tracking them or not. The first law Greene lays out sets the tone for much of what follows, and it corrects an instinct most ambitious people never think to question: never outshine the master. The instinct, when working under someone more powerful than you, is often to prove your value as visibly and completely as possible, assuming that talent alone will be rewarded. Greene's argument runs against this directly. A superior who feels genuinely threatened by a subordinate's brilliance rarely responds with gratitude. More often, that threatened feeling curdles quietly into resentment, and the subordinate finds their opportunities narrowing rather than expanding for reasons that are never stated openly. The law isn't a call to hide your competence entirely. It's a caution about the specific way that competence gets displayed, particularly in front of someone whose insecurity you haven't yet had the chance to measure. Picture a new employee who spots a flaw in their manager's long-standing process within their first month and corrects it publicly in a team meeting, expecting to be praised for the initiative. In Greene's framing, this rarely plays out the way the employee imagined. The correction may be accurate, but the public setting turns private insecurity into public embarrassment. And embarrassment tends to be remembered longer than competence is rewarded. The law's suggestion is to let credit flow toward those above you when it costs little to do so, saving unmistakable, undeniable displays of your own ability for moments when the audience and the stakes actually call for it. Closely related is a law built entirely around restraint and communication, one that extends beyond simply speaking less into something more strategic. Conceal your intentions. Greene argues that revealing your actual goals too early gives anyone with competing interests time to prepare a defense or a counter move before you've made any real progress toward what you're after. Keeping your true aims genuinely unclear while offering a plausible secondary reason for your actions buys time and reduces resistance, because opposition is far harder to organize against a target that hasn't been clearly identified yet. Picture someone quietly gathering support and resources for a new internal initiative at work, long before formally proposing it, rather than announcing the ambition up front and inviting early scrutiny or competition. By the time the idea is finally presented, much of the groundwork is already in place. and the proposal arrives as something closer to a fait accompli than an open invitation for others to shape or block. Greene's point isn't that honesty is worthless. It's that announcing your full strategy before you have leverage to defend it tends to cost you the very advantage that made the plan worth pursuing in the first place. Closely related is a law built entirely around restraint in communication. Always say less than necessary. Greene observes that power tends to accumulate around people who reveal less than everyone around them, not because silence itself is impressive, but because unfiltered talk consistently gives away more than the speaker intends, exposing uncertainty, insecurity, or plans that would have been better left unspoken. The more someone talks, especially under pressure, the more material they hand to anyone listening carefully, material that can later be used, contradicted, or simply remembered against them. Consider two people negotiating a raise. One walks in and immediately lists every reason they deserve more money, some strong, some weak, filling the silence out of nervousness. The other states their case plainly, then stops, letting the silence sit even when it feels uncomfortable. Greene's argument is that the second approach almost always lands with more authority, not because the content differs dramatically, but because restraint itself signals confidence, while over-explanation, even when accurate, reads as a search for approval. Saying less doesn't mean saying nothing. It means recognizing that every additional, unnecessary word tends to dilute the strength of what was already said. The book moves from communication to conflict with a law that reframes disagreement itself. Win through actions, never through argument. Greene's observation here is blunt. Verbal argument, even when technically correct, rarely changes anyone's mind in the moment it happens, because most people experience being argued with as an attack on their judgment, which triggers defensiveness rather than reconsideration. Demonstrated results, by contrast, are far harder to dispute because they don't require the other person to first admit they were wrong before accepting the new information. Picture a team member who believes a project's current approach is flawed. Arguing forcefully in a meeting might feel satisfying and might even be correct, but it tends to entrench the opposition rather than dissolve it, since no one enjoys being publicly proven wrong. Quietly building a working alternative and presenting the results once they're undeniable achieves the same goal without triggering the same defensive resistance, because the case is no longer a matter of opinion being litigated aloud. It's simply a visible outcome, speaking for itself. Greene's point isn't that honest disagreement should be suppressed. It's that persuasion built on demonstrated results tends to succeed where persuasion built purely on rhetoric tends to stall. From there, the book turns to a law addressing hesitation itself, something Greene treats as one of the most quietly self-defeating patterns a person can fall into. Enter action with boldness. His research repeatedly found that timid, half-hearted execution, even of a genuinely good plan, tends to produce worse outcomes than full, confident commitment to a plan that might have real flaws. Hesitation broadcasts uncertainty to everyone watching, and that visible uncertainty tends to be read, fairly or not, as evidence the underlying idea itself is weak, regardless of whether the idea is actually sound. Someone pitching a new idea to a room of skeptical colleagues, delivered with visible nervousness and constant hedging, will often struggle to gain support even for a genuinely strong proposal, simply because the delivery itself signals doubt. The identical idea, delivered with clear, direct confidence, tends to land with far more traction because an audience frequently takes its emotional cues from the presenter's own apparent certainty before evaluating the substance underneath it. Greene isn't arguing that boldness should replace preparation. He's arguing that once a decision has actually been made, executing it with visible hesitation tends to undermine it more thoroughly than almost any flaw in the plan itself would. The book takes a notably different turn with a law that pushes against the instinct toward flawless self-presentation. Never appear too perfect. Greene's observation here is counterintuitive at first. A person who appears entirely without flaw, constantly successful, endlessly composed, tends to generate quiet resentment in the people around them, envy dressed up as admiration, which eventually turns into a kind of hidden opposition. A visible, minor flaw, deliberately allowed to show, can actually soften that resentment, giving others something to feel superior about in a small, harmless way, which paradoxically makes genuine strength more tolerable to be around rather than less. Think of a highly accomplished colleague who occasionally openly admits to a minor mistake or a personal quirk, rather than projecting flawless competence at every turn. Co-workers tend to trust and support that person more consistently than someone who never admits to a single misstep, because the small admitted imperfection makes their larger competence feel less like a threat and more like something approachable. Greene's argument isn't that flaws should be manufactured dishonestly. It's that relentless, visible perfection tends to isolate rather than elevate, and a little humanizing imperfection, allowed to surface naturally, often serves someone standing better than total polish ever could. Alongside self-presentation, Greene devotes real attention to a law concerning conformity and adaptation. Think as you like, but behave like others. He argues that openly displaying unconventional beliefs or behavior, however genuine, tends to isolate a person socially and professionally, inviting suspicion and exclusion rather than respect for their individuality. This doesn't require abandoning your actual convictions. It requires recognizing that broadcasting them constantly, particularly in settings where conformity is expected, tends to cost more than it earns. While keeping unconventional views private, expressed selectively rather than constantly, preserves both your standing and your ability to actually act on those convictions when it counts. Someone who privately disagrees with a company's dominant culture, but chooses their moments carefully for voicing that disagreement, rather than constantly signaling dissent in every meeting, tends to retain far more actual influence than someone who broadcasts their contrarian views at every opportunity and is gradually pushed to the margins as a result. Greene's law here isn't a call for dishonesty. It's an argument that unfiltered self-expression, however sincere, has a real social cost, and that cost is worth weighing deliberately rather than incurring reflexively. The book closes its central arguments with a law that ties much of the earlier material together: assume formlessness. Greene's argument here is that predictability itself is a vulnerability. A person who behaves the exact same way in every circumstance, whose reactions and patterns are fully known in advance, becomes easy for others to anticipate, and easy to anticipate means easy to outmaneuver. Real adaptability, changing approach based on genuinely new circumstances rather than clinging rigidly to a single fixed method, keeps a person harder to predict and, by extension, harder to control or manipulate. Picture someone whose negotiating style never varies, always aggressive or always accommodating, regardless of who they're dealing with or what the actual situation calls for. Anyone who negotiates with them more than once quickly learns exactly how to prepare for that fixed pattern, and that predictability becomes a real disadvantage over time. Someone who reads each specific situation freshly, adjusting their approach rather than defaulting to a single fixed strategy, retains a flexibility their more rigid counterpart has already given away simply by being so consistently easy to read. Related to this adaptability is a law addressing identity itself. Recreate yourself. Greene observes that people who allow themselves to be permanently defined by a single fixed role, a single reputation earned early and never revisited, often find that role becoming a limitation once their circumstances or ambitions change. Deliberately shaping how you're perceived, rather than passively accepting whatever label was assigned to you early on, gives you far more control over the opportunities that come your way later. Someone known for years as the reliable behind-the-scenes support person on a team may find that reputation actively working against them the moment they seek a more visible leadership role, simply because everyone around them has already filed that identity away as settled. Deliberately taking on visible projects, changing how they present themselves in meetings, and actively reshaping the impression others hold of them, rather than waiting for perception to shift on its own, is what actually opens the door to how they're regarded going forward. Greene's argument is that identity, in the eyes of other people, is rarely reconsidered automatically. It has to be actively redefined, or it simply calcifies into whatever it happened to be at the start. Taken together, these laws point toward a single underlying observation running through the entire book. Power, in Greene's framing, is rarely distributed by talent or good intentions alone. It's shaped constantly by perception, timing, restraint, and the careful management of how much of yourself you actually reveal to the people around you at any given moment. Whether or not you choose to apply any single law exactly as Greene describes it, the value in studying them closely is the same. Once you can see these dynamics clearly, in the people around you and in your own instincts, you're no longer simply reacting to them unconsciously. You're finally in a position to decide deliberately how you actually want to move through them,